Oh, yeah. Hello, October, and hello, fall weather. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to what we call Cast Iron Wednesday. This is a tradition that a lot of YouTube cooking channels have been following for the last several years, where, quite simply, well, on Wednesdays, we do a cast iron video. And pretty much there are no really set rules to it. We're just really here to have fun with cast iron and an excuse, I guess, to play with our toys more than anything else. And boy, as some of you know, we have quite a few of them, but nonetheless, it's a lot of fun to play with our cast iron, and that's really the reason why we keep doing this every week. So I can only thank everybody so much for showing up here, especially on this lovely October evening. Yeah, we are getting into that time of the year. I mean, Halloween is 2 weeks from now. In fact, one day less than 2 weeks. Oh, where does the time go? That means the weather is changing, and well, that also means, of course, it is time to start getting out our Halloween implements of magic, which means, of course, a look at cast iron cauldrons, which I mentioned that last week, and tonight we are going to be playing around with cast iron cauldrons, two of them, in fact, and going from there because these are, of course, Dutch ovens. And anybody here who is lucky enough to own a Dutch oven, you of course know very well how great it is to cook in a cast iron Dutch oven. There's really nothing like it, and I'm so glad that I've been doing this now for the past few years. And more importantly, I've been doing these live videos now going on for somewhat more than 3 years, and I can only thank everybody who has been kind enough to show up. I say this every week because I mean this every week, because again, it's you folks here who make these so much fun. And that's why I like to say hello to everybody, like Beth Button and Cynthia Wesley and C.E. Rums, Pat Z, Val's Black Cat Rules, Elsie's Cat, Granny Graham, sorry about that, and Cast Iron Fanatic. Hello, howdy, folks. Happy Cast Iron Wednesday. Tasty treats cooking in the Rolls Royce of cast iron, BSR. Well, I don't know if cast iron is, if BSR is the Rolls Royce. After all, it's it's not exactly luxury cast iron as far as they were concerned. Maybe you could call it, oh, I don't know, the Dodge Ram, perhaps, or Ford or Jeep. Either way, it's nice and durable, and of course, it's been around for 100 years going on. And with any luck, thanks to the internet, we'll be keep using these for another 100 years. Like this one, for instance, one particular piece that we'll be fooling around with tonight, and that is a Red Mountain Series #8 cast iron Dutch oven. And yeah, this is one piece that I recently acquired this year, and I'm very happy to be using it. On the other hand, I'm also going to be looking at a much bigger uh, BSR piece here. And this is one that I just finished seasoning yesterday. You may have seen those little short videos there on, yeah, I posted about reseasoning this number 12 size Birmingham Stove and Range Dutch oven here. And yeah, this is why I guess tonight was indeed something of an excuse to break this thing out and use it here, especially since we are going to be using this to make a Dutch oven roast chicken. I considered spatchcocking the chicken, but I finally decided no. I had said that I'm going to be using a cast iron cauldron tonight. Looks like there's some discoloration on the top of this. I may actually have to get around to reseasoning the lid as well. But nonetheless, and yes, it is. Hello. Hello as well to Pat Z. I've never seasoned something so big. Yeah, this was indeed quite a task to reseason. I will certainly say that. Um, the problem with this particular one, this is a Century Series Red Mountain Dutch oven, and unfortunately, I have reason to believe and quite a few clues that suggest it is actually fire damaged. But I'm still continuing to use it because it is a big, huge cast iron pot. And I hope to use this until I can maybe one day find a Red Mountain Dutch oven as a replacement. But until then, this thing is heating up here on the stove. while we get our chicken together. Yes, indeed, and we'll be seeing much more of that. However, right now we've got to get started here at looking at some chicken. This, on the other hand, is this is a 6 pound chicken that I've been dry brining all day. That simply means it's been drying out on a rack in the fridge, and I've coated it with very simple rub, nothing too deliberate. I mixed in some salt. Yeah, let me see if I have the right one here. There it is. I mixed in some table salt along with some good Old Bay seasoning, and I've coated the top and bottom of the chicken. And my hope, at least, is this will help it to cook tonight. So, what do we have here for Papa Dan? Yes, Dan, wife, had a bad day. Can't see clearly. Well, I'm very sorry about that. Does the BSR Century Spider had loop or tab handles? And were spider and camp oven lids interchangeable? The answer to that is yes and yes. The spiders and the camp ovens were made at a completely different size from the kitchen Dutch oven lids. They were made at a very standard size, as you know, which was simply where 10 inches, 11 inches, 12 inches, 14 inches, which meant they were 14 inches in diameter on the outside rim. The inside rim was exactly 1 inch less, 13 inches. For their Red Mountain series, they did indeed make them with loop handles, and then with the Century series, as a cost-cutting measure, they did the tab handle. So all of that, yes, that is true, and indeed, the camp ovens and the spiders were interchangeable as far as that's concerned. I can go on a little bit more about that. However, right now, let me see. Okay, we've got ourselves a nice 6 pound chicken here. And I have been busy heating up this pot where it's going to be nothing too difficult. This is going to be a fairly simple recipe, at least I certainly hope so, which means that since this thing has already been heating up, I think we're pretty much ready to start searing the chicken. And we will go from there, which means oh yeah, the one thing I forgot, I always forgot something. I had all my stuff ready, but I realized I forgot my tongs. Give me a second, please, to get the tongs out as fast as I can. Clang, clang, clang. Yeah, I know. Okay, this should be enough. Thank you for waiting. Thought I had all my prep work done, but I always forget something. Nonetheless, there we go. Now, maybe a little higher. Okay, now let's finally get some action going and start off with that just means I get to throw in a little bit of oil for starters. Enough to sear the chicken. This, by the way, is a frying oil, which says 90% canola and 10% extra virgin olive oil. I got this big jug thing at a discount, so I've been doing my best to make as much use of it as possible. I want to be sure it's completely spread out. And now that we've done that, good. I guess at this point, let us put in the chicken. Woof! That's always fun. Here. All right. Now at this point, I'm glad this is such a big pot. Boy, you saw that splatter? Huh. Well, it definitely meant the juices were coming out of the chicken, which of course is the whole point of the dry brine. And fortunately, with the way this microphone goes, I mean, you should be able to hear that, but it shouldn't drown you out at least. So, is the chat moving? Glad I didn't get it. Okay, is somebody having trouble with the reception? Judy W, that's a big chicken. All right, tick tick, ha ha ha. Glad it didn't get you. Oh, I guess you saw that then. Okay, and thanks for the get well wishes. Will the fire alarm go off? Well, let's just say the smoke alarm is taken care of. So I'll reassure you of that. The chicken did a nosedive into the pot. Glad it didn't start a fire. Well, fortunately, again, that's one nice thing about having this nice deep pot. This thing is at least 6 inches deep. So there's plenty of room here. Thank goodness. All right. And now that we've done this much, one thing I've been doing lately is kind of like bracing this when I flip it so that I don't tear the skin, or at least I hope not. Do this right. Ugh, come on, you know what? Oh, good grief. All right. There we go. Got it. That almost worked. Okay. Actually, that's working, sort of. Ah, little by little. Got it. Haha. There. I'm really an expert at this. Can you tell? Okay. Anyway, once we've got this thing seared, we will take this out and just simply throw a little bit of seasoning into it. Okay, so we didn't spatchcock this one. Yes, no. I considered spatchcocking it, especially to make it cook faster. But in the end, I decided not to for a couple of reasons. One is, as I said, I had wanted to do this in a Dutch oven. Also, the only long oval roaster I have for a spatchcock chicken is currently my Lodge one, and I found out, like it or not, I'm going to have to reseason that one. That one's not as pristine as I would have liked. So I'm going to have to make an effort and clean that one up, which means we are using this here. Even so, I'm going to start by braising this. So my hope is that will help to cook it faster. Anyway, we've already gotten this far. Now that we've done that, that also puts some, here we go. Haha, got it. And that's good because that's how I'm going to put it into the pot. All right. Well, we've gotten some liquid from the chicken into there too, so we are off to not a bad start, which means now we get to throw in some extra liquid, specifically some white wine. There we go. And then from here, where did I just put it? Oh, there it is. Next thing, here. Oh, good grief, come on. I gotta get up my scissors. Tear here. Yeah, you know what you can do with tear here. Next thing we're gonna do is a whole bunch of garlic cloves. And this is not gonna take very long, thank goodness. Okay, let's start stirring this around. Yeah, because we want to lightly brown this garlic, but we certainly do not want to burn it. This is essentially chicken with 40 cloves of garlic. But anybody who's had this dish knows that the more garlic, the better. This is one thing that's so wonderful about this dish. I found this out when I first started baking it, and you better believe I was addicted after that. Is the wonderful way you cook this garlic ends up getting cooked. It's really at the point where the garlic might even be better than the chicken here, because if you have never made this, I very, very strongly recommend it. Again, chicken with 40 cloves of garlic, because when this all roasts in the juices from the chicken and the liquid and everything else, the garlic itself will not become an incredibly strong garlic. Instead, it's going to mellow out and it's going to become absolutely delicious, to the point where when it's all done, you could really just simply eat the garlic directly with a fork, and a lot of people do. Okay, let's make sure. I think I might even need to turn this heat up a little bit. I want to try to get this at least up to a simmer there. Oh, yeah, that would be a good test on a first date. Oh yeah, man, that's a lot of garlic. Well, it is getting to Halloween, so this is a vampire repellent. As anybody, but as I said, I'm certain that there's somebody out here who has made this dish. I mean, chicken with 40 cloves of garlic is one that's been around for a while. So I'm sure anybody else can back up what I'm saying here. I'm not just asking you to trust me on this. I'm just saying there's a lot of other people around, a lot of other videos around you can look up that will all confirm this that this garlic really just can't be beat. And once we've done this, uh, this won't take very long. Renfroware is nice. Generically fits other size 8 Dutch ovens. Nice. I like cooked garlic on crackers. Yeah. I'm gonna use my big Lodge trivet next time I make that roasted chicken to get browning on the bottom. That's a lot of garlic. Oh, I can assure you again, there's really no such thing as too much garlic in this dish, and that's one reason why I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, okay, well, at least the liquid is already bubbling, which is good. I just want to get a little bit of browning on the garlic, which should not take very long. But yeah, here we go. Yes, this, like I said, this is a vampire repellent as well. I mean, at least you can be sure that there are going to be no vampires here tonight. Did I use that joke already? I'm not sure. But anyway, nice thing is it's going to be also very simple because we're already almost at that point. I mean, after this, I'm just going to throw in a little bit of chicken broth, and then we'll put the chicken in, and we will start braising it. Then we'll go on to part two. How can I turn on the smell? Yeah, I can only imagine what it'll be like when somebody comes up with some kind of a smell app. I love garlic. No problem with vampires around here. But as I mentioned, this is a number 12 size Dutch oven from BS&R. This thing is a real beast, too. It is heavy, awkward to lift, but man, is it ever fun to use. And what's more, um, as I mentioned before, this pot is actually fire damaged, too. But I'm continuing to use it at least until the point, which could happen sometime or another. The problem with a fire damaged pot is that it's likely at some point in the future it may very well crack. I already had a problem with it in that the seasoning was starting to come off and there was actually rust underneath, and that's why I had to completely strip it and re-season it. But yes, when I acquired this, it was from eBay and it was at a low price. Examining it, I realized that it was indeed fire damage, and my thought is that this may very well have been salvaged from a house fire, which is why I got it for so low, and that's why it's fire damaged as well. Which again, I see this as yet more proof about that subject that people really hate, and that subject is throwing cast iron into a fire. I just build a big fire and throw the pan into it because that's what my grandma did. And I've been doing this all my life, and all my cast iron is as good as new. Yeah, well, BS. It's likely that over time, the pans probably developed a reddish color, which again indicates that they're definitely, unfortunately, getting fire damage. Not to mention the possibility that any number of them could be warped or even cracked. The difficult part with arguing about the fire cleaning bit, about throwing a pan into the fire, and yeah, there are even a lot of videos out there on YouTube that talk about that. Yeah, this is definitely starting to hiss bigger, louder, that is. There are a number of YouTube videos, in fact, where you see people putting it into a fire. Regrettably, the problem is that when you throw your pan into the fire, most of the time it's going to come out looking undamaged, except maybe for the reddish color if you're not careful. The problem is that there is a possibility you could end up permanently damaging the pan or warping it or cracking it, but it's not guaranteed to happen. However, there is still that small possibility, and that's what has led to pans being fire damaged over time. Any number of us who have been out on the search for vintage cast iron have almost certainly come across warped pans with a reddish color from so-called fire cleaning, and you would certainly be able to spot that. all I can suggest is that, well, it's up to you whether or not you would still want to buy a cast iron pan in that condition. It's really hard to say. All right, people say to put it in the self-cleaning cycle of the oven, and that's a bad idea too. Unfortunately, that's true because the reason is that the self-cleaning cycle is designed to work on an empty oven. There have been rare reports, not very common, but they have been known to happen, of the oven being damaged and even imploding and the glass door shattering when from that. So no, it doesn't happen all the time. That's the hard part. Because it doesn't happen all the time, most people just assume it's not going to happen. The forecourt, I think, in good condition actually needs to be cleaned really bad. Cleaning the number 10 first. They're pretty under the lids. Neat starburst pan. Oh, you're talking about the Renfro, I think. Okay, I'd say at this point we're about ready to get this chicken into the oven. Let me see. That means I get to throw that in. Actually, let's throw in a little bit of chicken broth to help braise it. And okay, put this back on. There we go. I'm intentionally putting it breast side down so that we can braise the underside first. In an hour or so, I will flip it and uncover it. But there we go. Ooh. All right, now that we've done that, that means time to pull the camera back and into the oven as best as I can, which means, considering that pot is now hot, got to get out my gloves. The oven is preheated already to 375. Okay, here we go. Turn this off too. There. All right. My plan now is to, what I hope to do now is to let it stay in the oven for an hour, which means at 9:22 I will take it out and check the temperature. My thought is that I figure the outside of the chicken, which means the bottom, should be just about ready, but the underside may or may not be. Since I'm doing this in mostly bare pan, except for all of that garlic, might be different from the chicken and rice. But my hope is that braising it for an hour should get it at least fairly close to being done. So when I take it out of the oven in an hour, I'm going to flip it over and then up the temperature to maybe 400, maybe even 425, and leave the lid off to finish roasting it and also to crisp the skin, or at least I hope so. However, now that we've done that, it's time to get to part 2. And then after that, we will be able to have a nice discussion here. That number 12 is a real beast. Yes, it is. I am definitely not arguing with you on that. Hello as well to JIR Finishes. Sounds like a good trade-off, William Hurt. So I'm so afraid of self-cleaning ovens and locking. Yes. Well, now here we get to use a smaller cauldron, which would be the number 8 size BS&R Dutch oven. And in fact, now we can even bring this camera down a little bit towards it. And to this, we're going to prepare a side dish. Nothing too difficult, except I realized I forgot to do one other thing. So before I do that, I got to get back over to the cutting board. Yeah, I know. Here, always doing this little roller coaster bit. Well, I apologize for that. But now that means we get to pull out a knife. And I think I'll use a K-bar. How about that? K-bar chef's knife. But this is only going to take a few seconds. Namely, I've got to cut up some russet potatoes, which is no big deal at all. I'm not going to dice them. All I have to do is just simple cuts, and really probably not even much more than that. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, I love a sharp knife. 4, 5. Oops, that one fell off. 6, 7, and 8. There we go. Nothing to it. Now that we've done that, we can throw these things back into the pot. Okay, so my plan here is I simply cover the bottom with potatoes. And then from here, I'm going to make one addition. Because yes, this is going to be mashed potatoes, but in fact, it's going to be mashed potatoes done in a way that I like doing. And that is, to this, we get to throw in some kosher salt. You can use regular salt. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's all going to dissolve in the water anyway. There we go. Nice and salty. That should be enough. And to this, I'm going to throw in one other ingredient. Pumpkin pieces. Yes, that's right. These are pumpkin pieces. I got myself a pie pumpkin and cut it up. This is something I love doing, especially at this time of year. All right, now for that, I quickly got to fill this with water. So, yeah, okay, I'll get out a jug. Okay, like I said, I got myself a pie pumpkin here, and this is something I've been doing for the past several years because you consider pumpkin is a squash. Why is this thing not opening up? There we go. Pumpkin is a squash, and it is delicious, quite frankly. I've eaten pumpkin many times, and this is a very simple mashed potato and pumpkin dish that I love making, especially at this time of year. As you can see, it's really no more than just throwing pumpkin pieces in with your potatoes. And it's going to give it a nice orange colored orangish color, not bright color, but enough so that you'll see that there's pumpkin in it. And furthermore, it'll also give a little bit more of a sweet flavor because again, it's squash. There we go. Oops. And that should be enough, which means now cover this. And away we go. Poof. All right, we're on. Yes, indeed. One reason why I really love this time of year where I get to play around with dishes like this. And yes, pumpkin mashed potatoes are so easy. It's something that I obviously I do recommend you give it a try because it's tasty and it's really no more difficult to make than your regular mashed potatoes. Okay, but as I said, this is a Red Mountain series BSNR Dutch oven. Um, a lot of the BSNR pots and some Lodge pots had this thicker end and which tapered off to a thinner end on the other side here. The reason why, as I found out, was that during the casting process, the way they did this is in their mold, they actually had to run a machine. They had to run a some kind of a curved rod through the molten metal to shape it in this manner. So they literally went from there. So they literally went from one end to the other. And that's how it produced a handle in this shape, which is different from other manufacturers who would often cast them in their handles in two halves. That's why even Griswold did this. That's why with some of them you see it looks like there's a crack in the center of the handle when in fact that's not the case. It's the two halves of the handle coming together. Either way, of course, the answer is whatever works. Aren't the skins on the pumpkin chunks tough? And the answer to that is no. The skins will definitely soften to the point where you can still taste them, yes. There is still a bit of chew to the skins. There's no denying that, but I have no problem eating the skins, and I've been doing so really pretty much since I started doing this. Because again, think of this: how many folks here eat squash? Like butternut squash, for instance, or spaghetti squash. Those kind of squashes that we make regularly. And I don't know about you, but I grew up always eating the entire squash. We always ate the whole thing, skin and all, and we never had a problem with it. And that's the same way as well with my potatoes, too. I mean, you notice all I did was cut up the potatoes and put them into the pot. Because again, I love my potatoes with the skins on, and I don't have any problem at all with simply having my mashed potatoes or even roasted potatoes with the skins on. It's something I grew up with, and as I said, I think potato skins are delicious. I don't have any problem with that. I have even made pumpkin pie in this manner and left the skins on. Although not many people are used to that. I made when I started doing my own homemade pumpkin pie, I would just simply, roast the pumpkin pieces and just puree them, the whole thing, including the skins, which meant there were bits of skin in the pumpkin pie. And I didn't have a problem with that. I liked the taste of it, but people were not used to it. I got questions from people: why are these hard bit chewy bits in the pumpkin pie? And someone even commented that they thought I was using carrot pieces in the pumpkin pie. So really, just to avoid making people upset, I started making my pumpkin pies without the pumpkin skins. But that's the only reason why I did that. So, okay, some organic broth. Once again, I got that organic broth on the discount aisle at the supermarket. That's the only reason why I buy that. So I peel sweet pumpkin and spaghetti squash. I leave the skins on for am I pronouncing this right? Kabosha or delicata. Yes, exactly. The skins are definitely edible, and I find that they're very tasty. I bought a skull cake pan, and it's really neat. Well, congratulations on that, Corey Clark. You're certainly going to get a lot of use of that, especially at this time of year. And for those who don't know, folks, this is what he's talking about: the large skull cake pan. This thing is big. It is much bigger than the typical large muffin pan or the cornbread pan. This thing is big enough that you could make a full-size cake mix, and I believe it would just about fit into all of these skulls. So yeah, this is a really interesting piece of work here, and I, for one, am glad that I got this last year when it came out. So, yes, Corey, I do feel that you got something that you're going to treasure and get a lot of use out of. Again, especially at this time of year. You, as a Marine, you're a real man. Okay. If every pork chop were perfect, we wouldn't have hot dogs. Well, there is that. Salty and tougher the better. You can make carrot pie that tastes like pumpkin pie. Well, that's true too if you just throw in enough spices. And that's why squash pie is often done as a substitute for pumpkin pie. I guess it's really just a question of which is available and which is cheaper. Jimmy Langford, I'm looking for a BSNR Red Mountain number 8 Dutch oven pot. I bought the lid and the pot. After I got out of the e-tank, the pot was cracked. Ouch. My condolences for that. Yeah, that's hunting. Unfortunately, yes, it is. Well, all we can do is keep on hunting. Um, I've said this before, by the way. One of my favorite places to browse on the internet is not eBay, even though I do browse there. It is, in fact, a Facebook group. The Facebook groups for selling cast iron. It seems like Iron Man auctions seems to be getting a little less active these days than it used to be for some reason. But on the other hand, another group, Patriot Cast Iron and Cutlery, is really going strong. They sell a lot of good cast iron on there, and the people there know their stuff, and they're honest, and they keep the place honest. So you're not likely to get a steal on that Facebook group because people know what they're selling. But on the other hand, you're also not likely to get ripped off. So that certainly helps in either way. Elsie's cat. I made pumpkin bread. I don't know. It's a thing. I just made it up. Just made just some self-rising flour and a can of pumpkin. Add an egg, sugar, and spice. And yeah, there's nothing wrong. I've had pumpkin bread, and it's definitely worth it. We always save the baked potato skins and have them the next day's potato skins with chili or cheese or bacon or sour cream. Hmm. Report your comment for being so right. Um, okay, I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm hoping there's not an argument breaking out. We'll just say that. So, um, but yes, yeah, the BSNR Dutch oven. As we mentioned before, BSNR. Oh yeah, that's right. You were talking about camp oven lids too earlier. BSNR made their kitchen Dutch ovens and skillets in unique sizes, at least for most of their time. In that a BSNR pot and lid is very, very slightly larger than the competition, larger than Lodge or Griswold. And of course, they did that especially as a marketing move. Um, it also means that BSNR lids are not compatible with other pieces, unfortunately, although they are, of course, compatible with each other. As I mentioned, their camp oven lids and spider lids, they were interchangeable with the spiders and the camp ovens. If you had one lid, it would fit on either one of them, which is why I've shown this one off before, a 13-inch Red Mountain lid, and I'm hoping one of these days to find a BSNR spider or camp oven to fit that lid, or at least we can only hope. No rules in cooking. Yes, exactly. There, as they say, there is no cheating in cooking. There are only shortcuts. Pumpkin bread is quick, easy treat. And once again, we are certainly getting into that time of year. For the record, the entire cooking time for for these mashed potatoes here, from the moment I turned on the heat, would be about 50 minutes. It takes about maybe 20 minutes to heat up the pot to a good boil, and then maybe another 30 to actually boil it all until they are done. So, all things considered, this entire thing, both the chicken and the chicken, I'll check it at about 20 past 9, but the mashed potatoes and pumpkin should be ready by around that time. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. Have you ever grated a sweet potato and made hash browns? I can't say that I have, unfortunately. Yeah, yeah, because you know unfortunately, hash browns are pretty difficult to make, regrettably. I mean, you can make them, but as you know, it really makes a big mess without getting the liquid all over the place. I would wonder though if yams or even sweet potatoes might be a little easier to make because they may very well have less water, or at least I would hope so. Where did you find that counter and stove divider? Oh, you mean this? Um, Clearance section at Walmart. Not kidding. Maybe about a couple of months ago, I just happened to stumble across it. I was looking in Walmart, and there it was in the clearance section. So as soon as I saw it, I thought, yeah, I could definitely get some use out of this. So I'm quite happy about that. The best I could say is look on Walmart's website, and maybe they might still have it available. I made that banana butter today. Ooh, sweet and should be used with a cake for icing. Oh, that sounds good. Always use Libby's. Does it say made in USA on the bottom and have a lid handle that is tapered from one end to the other? If it says made in USA on the bottom, then that definitely means it's not Red Mountain series. It would have to mean it's maybe from the 1960s onward when the manufacturers started putting made in USA on their pans. So that's one way to tell the difference with BSNR between their Red Mountain and their Century series. That plus, of course, the markings that they have on the pans with the exact measurements. Although this number 12 here, the number 12 that's in the oven, doesn't have a measurement. It does not say um, what is it? A number 12 is like about 13 and a half inches, but it has no markings on it. It only has a number 12 on the bottom. However, it is definitely a Red Mountain. No, I'm sorry. It's definitely a Century Series Dutch oven, and I know this for a couple of reasons. One of which it does indeed have a Made in USA mark, which of course indicates right there at Century Series. Another reason is that, but here's where I get into really being a cast iron geek. I know that the font style of the number 12 matches the Century Series pans and not the Red Mountain Series pans. But in that, I can only claim that it's because I'm a cast iron geek that I can recognize the difference between those two. Sweet potato fries sound so good. Yes, they do. All right, let me see if where did I put my mouse? Why am I missing my mouse? There it is. Let me see if I missed any comments earlier on, and I apologize for that. Curious on the group thoughts on a price for a number 12 Wagner spinner with a smooth, swirly cooking surface. They're asking $60. $60 for a Wagner number 12 does not sound like that bad a deal these days because, well, I mean, actually, everything's going up in price, including cast iron, but a number 12 Wagner probably wouldn't be bad. Um, Especially since, unfortunately, it's a spinner, but then again, many large cast iron pans, especially like the number 12 and the number 14 size, were quite often spinners. I guess the question is how bad of a spinner it is. I mean, I've shown you folks good old Stumpy, my BSNR number 14, and he is definitely a spinner. Um, but he is really not seriously warped. I mean, if that pan was really, really seriously warped, to the point where you could definitely see it, I might have second thoughts on that. But if it's, I mean, the swirly marks means it's just that. That means it's got, oh, I can see this thing starting to steam already. So good. The swirly marks, that's a good sign as well, that it should be in good condition, though, other than that. Right Trump, Right's Trump policy. I just recently found a Wagner Sydney number 8 Dutch oven with no lid and an unmarked Lodge number 8 with a lid. And I've used the Lodge a couple of times already, and I love it so much. Yes, indeed. That's what I mean about Dutch oven cooking. Um, you know, um, all of those cooking channels, especially the big professional cooking channels, whenever they bring out a Dutch oven, they always, and I mean always, bring out an enameled Dutch oven. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those enameled Dutch ovens are great. I have a couple of them myself because you can do things with an enameled Dutch oven that you can't do with a bare Dutch oven like this, like cooking lots of tomatoes, for instance. But on the other hand, I love making things in this iron Dutch oven because I think the bare iron heats up better. I mean, you can see this thing is definitely steaming right now, in fact. So in fact, maybe I should even turn the heat down just a little bit so that I can, it doesn't, I mean, it'll keep on boiling, of course, but I want to be sure anyway that it doesn't completely boil off all of the water because it's unfortunately not airtight, as you can see. Um, what was I saying now? I've already lost my train of thought here. Oh, yeah, yes, a bare cast iron Dutch oven. Once I started using one of these, a bare cast iron Dutch oven was, I think, maybe the third or second even piece of cast iron that I actually got from of my own choice back in 2011, I believe it was. And I have enjoyed this thing immensely. In fact, I learned how to make Dutch oven roast chicken in a Lodge 5-quart Dutch oven. And once you've done that, there's really no turning back. So I would definitely say a bare iron Dutch oven is also a kitchen necessity. For your first Dutch oven, whether you want to get enameled or bare iron, kind of a toss up, I think. If you feel that you can take care of a bare iron Dutch oven, then I would say go for that one first. If you would rather have the ease in use and especially in cleaning, then you might want to go for an enamel Dutch oven, just like they do on all of those professional cooking channels. Okay, Mark. My Wagner is a terrible spinner, but it's nice on a gas stove grate. It does have a slight nickel coating on the cooking surface. Christine Borgatti. Yeah. Those plated pans. I mean, yes, the plating did seem to wear off fairly quickly, which is why we find so many of them out there where the plating is mostly or even entirely gone. Someone asked before the video started in the chat whether or not you can run a plated pan through the e-tank. And one person in the chat did say that he has run plated pieces through his e-tank without any problem. So you might want to give it a try and see where it goes from there, I guess. Enamel is more universal. The lid handle does taper, but not as much as his. The lid has a saucer-sized flatter area around the handle. The bottom says USA D3800 and has a checked pattern on the bottom. Checked pattern. I think I kind of know what you mean. And unfortunately, that number 12 is in the oven now because, yes, in the center of the inside of bottom of the number 12 Dutch oven, there is in fact a little circular uh, piece that looks like it has a little pattern in itself. I'm thinking that was probably just from the machine that was used to smooth out the inside. That would be my guess as to why that pattern is still there. But USA D3800, I can't say I actually recognize that one. You may have to actually Google for that one. I got mine from Amazon. Mine is silicone rubber. The School of Hard Knocks substitute for instructions. Yes, and that's especially in this hobby. That is where most of us do our cooking. We learn pretty much from our experiences. When I'm saying do our cooking, I guess I should say that's where most of us get our cast iron education. Because while there are cookbooks plenty, there really does not seem to be any kind of a cookbook that people could consider the definitive guide to using and cooking in cast iron. I mean, there are a number of cast iron cookbooks out there, even from Lodge, and those cookbooks usually go the same way. The first chapter says, "This is cast iron. This is how you maintain it, and this is how you clean it." And then after that, they spend all the rest of the cookbook doing the recipes. The recipes are great, of course. I mean, no arguments there. But it's not like how to cook this dish, especially in cast iron. Like how you make these mashed potatoes in a cast iron pot, or how do you cook this chicken in a cast iron Dutch oven. There are some recipes out there, especially the ones for camp cooking, with coals, but not too many, it seems like. Dorothy Clay Gardner, I love raw cast iron too. However, I have an enameled one for boiling, yes, and I can certainly understand that. But nonetheless, as you can see, I am boiling water in this bare pot as well. I would not want to boil water in this number 8 Dutch oven every single day. But once in a while, I have no problem with it. After this, I'm probably going to have to cook something more substantial in this, like, oh, I don't know, more chicken, for instance, in order to help build up the seasoning again. But because, yeah, so if you do use this regularly for boiling water, it will affect the seasoning. And eventually, you'll get to the point where, yes, I mean, people talk about black residue from the seasoning getting into their food, or especially on the cloths and towels when they wash it. That does indicate that the seasoning is getting loose. Well, that the seasoning is not as secure or as it used to be. What do you do in that situation when you start getting that black residue on your hands and on the cloths when you wash it? Well, I would suggest number one, cook something nice and greasy in it to help build up the seasoning, or you could simply season it some more. You don't have to strip it. Just maybe put some of your favorite cast iron seasoning into all over the pan, whether it's Crisco or vegetable oil or Crisby or whatever you want, and then just simply bake it in the oven and give it an additional coating of seasoning. That should certainly help. My fall recipe, cake clock. Fall recipe for my lodge Dutch oven last week was okra tagine, totally veggie. Okra, sweet potato, butternut squash, cilantro, and parsley, and Moroccan spice blend. Oh, that does sound good, quite frankly. I got that Wagner for $10 and had no idea why the handle was silver. Well, the silver was definitely because it was plated. William Hurt. I could use a new enamel Dutch oven. My mom's old baby blue Drew with the tulip and windmill pattern started to chip and had to retire it. Oh, my condolences on that. That is the other problem about the enamel Dutch ovens is that they don't last forever. I mean, they all say that they do, even especially the fancier ones like Le Creuset. And I have been trying to baby my big stove Dutch oven for precisely that reason. I want to make it last as long as possible so that hopefully it will last the rest of my life. But if you just put it through a lot of hard wear and tear, an enamel Dutch oven will probably last you maybe a couple of years to a few years at the most. I had a 3-quart Cuisinart enamel Dutch oven. After about 2 years of regular use, yeah, the enamel was definitely crazing. It has that cracked pattern all around the bottom. And I knew it was not long for this world, unfortunately. But it was also because I probably abused it and did not give it the necessary TLC that I should have. So I blame myself as much as the quality of that, which is why I am questioning whether I'm, yeah, basically with Christmas coming up, I'm debating whether or not I should spring for the Lodge USA enamel Dutch oven. What I really want to do is, they're a really fancy one that they're making to compete with Le Creuset. But what I really want to do with that is try to get some answers from Lodge. I really want to ask some pointed questions about their about that fancy USA enamel. Like, for instance, how many layers of enamel do they put onto the pot? Because my understanding is your typical Asian-made uh, enamel has maybe 2 layers of enamel on it. Le Creuset, on the other hand, uses something like 5 or 6 layers of enamel, which is one reason why they're so durable and why they have a lifetime guarantee on it. Louis needs to use more songs from the backyard again. Mine are Le Creuset and Stove, and all still look beautiful. Well, yes, as I mentioned, Le Creuset and Stove, they do actually manufacture their enamel Dutch ovens to a much higher standard, so that with some tender loving care, with any luck, it should indeed last the rest of your life. I mean, I found a look. Folks may remember my huge 13-quart Le Creuset Dutch oven that I found at a yard sale for $6, and it was in poor condition even when I found it. But for $6, I wasn't about to say no, and I still got something like 9 years of use out of it before it finally started chipping. This is why I'm hoping again that the stove Dutch oven that I got as a replacement should hopefully last, I hope, the rest of my life. Clico, I had my Le Creuset for 40 years, gave it to my son as it was too large a capacity for me. I downsized to a 5 1/4. He's happily using it, including baking bread. Well, fortunately, it sounds like he knows how to use it, and that is a big deal. So, congratulations on teaching him right. The stove has a black interior and is my favorite. Yeah, I have to admit that's the reason why I chose a stove rather than a Le Creuset. It has that black interior, which I understand is trademarked by Stobe, and that's why they are about the only one that makes their enamel with a black interior. Everybody else, including Le Creuset, makes theirs with a white interior, which tends to stain. Fortunately, with Stobe, well, the black interior is much less likely to stain. So they were definitely thinking ahead when they designed it that way. Did you notice how smooth that skull pan is? Yes, I did. I can only think that it must have been necessary for them to give it a very smooth surface in order to put that skull design on it. So it did. So it required a lot much more detail in the design, and as a result, that's the way they did it. Does that mean that Lodge could probably design a skillet with a smooth surface? I would say the answer to that is probably yes. Will Lodge ever design a skillet again with a smooth surface? I'm suspecting the answer is probably no, because that's their business model. That's the one that they became famous with, and arguably that's the one that saved them from bankruptcy in the 1990s to 2000s when they started designing their skillets and their pans in that manner for pre-seasoning. So because of that, as I said, because that's their business model, they're likely to stick with it. That's why even their Blacklock series, their fancier skillets, still have I will not call it a rough surface, but it's definitely not a smooth surface. We've talked about this many times, and we probably will keep talking about it until until we are dead and buried. Namely, that Lodge does in fact smooth the surface of their pans, and they have that unique way of doing it, running their pans through a centrifuge with all of that heavy steel shot in it to pound down on the pans and smooth them out. This, of course, gives it a surface that allows the seasoning to stick. And obviously, it took a lot of investment for them to come up with that kind of a method. So that again is another reason why it's not likely that Lodge is going to start grinding down their pans like they used to in the past, because they are selling. I mean, Lodge is apparently having the last decade or so has been a real boon for Lodge's business. And as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, JIR finishes. I bought a croissants made in France enamel Dutch oven 20 years ago at an estate sale for $10. It was old then. Cool red orange color and no sign of wearing out, but interior is stained. Croissants, what I know about them is that they were an independent manufacturer until about the 1960s. Was it that long ago? 1960s, 1980s? I think it was the 1960s when Croissants was actually bought out by Le Creuset. Maybe it's 1980s, because I've seen some Croissants pans myself that look practically pristine. They look practically brand new. So either way, though, the point is just that they were bought out by Le Creuset, and so if you find a pan with a Croissants logo on it, that definitely would mean it is vintage at this point. Could be anywhere from 30 to 50 years old or so, I would think. 60 years old, in fact. Hey, good night, Elsie's cats. Lodge pans in the store seem smoother today than they did a few years ago. Well, there is that too, Judy W. I won't disagree with you on that. I just the other day, in fact, I finished seasoning up a typical Lodge 10-inch skillet that a friend had brought to me. Yeah, let me dig it out, in fact. It's been said many times by many cast iron enthusiasts that if you were going to get your very first cast iron pan, the one that you should probably get would be the old Lodge 10-inch skillet. This is a typical one that you can find at Walmart. And I would say that yes, I mean, this definitely does have a smoother inside here, inside surface. It is not the rough sandpaper surface that you could say that Lodge used to have. On the other hand, you could say that about the outside of the pan too. So it is definitely another instance where you could say that yes, they do in fact smooth down the surfaces of their pans. They just don't polish it to a mirror finish. But nonetheless, this is definitely smooth. And of course, it's a large cast iron pan. This is a few years old anyway, because even though it has the egg logo on it, it does not have the large logo on the handle. So that would have to mean this might be anywhere from 5 years old and older. So even so, I have that one in my give it away pile because Christmas is coming, and I may find the opportunity to give this large pan away as a present. Oh, and let me show you as an example an Asian made pan that I also just finished seasoning up. This one is one here. Maybe I should back up here. We don't have to always be looking at that. But yeah, here is a 10-inch skillet that says American Camper. And this is definitely Asian made. It has a very long and thin handle on it. And it's actually thick and heavy. Definitely has a rougher surface on it than the Lodge. Even so, it's still not bad either. The main reason why I picked this pan up because I did a short video on this maybe a couple of months ago. This particular pan here, this exact one, this Asian made pan with the long thin handle, seems to be almost a dead ringer for the pan, the frying pan from Disney's Tangled. Frying pans. Who knew? It's got a long, as I said, because it's got a very long, thin, and almost slightly curved handle on it, as opposed to yeah. So that means it's something that he could indeed hold in his hand without much difficulty, as he was battling swordsmen using this frying pan here. Frying pans. Who knew? Oh, Mama, I have got to get me one of these. So yes, now that I have it, well, I don't know. I might end up giving it away at some point, especially if somebody ever makes a Halloween costume where they actually dress up as Rapunzel. But nonetheless, those are some of the pans I've been playing around with recently. No, I haven't found many vintage pans lately. I haven't had much of an opportunity to do so. Although I do have one pan. Yeah, in fact, I think I might as well mention this, folks. Well, actually, let me say a couple of comments here. Modern Lodge is mostly easy to find in stores and online everywhere. Yes, it is. A lot of people think they need to strip and reseason a new Lodge pan. I have several modern Lodge pans that are very smooth after using, and I never reseason them. Exactly. Lodge makes them so that you can actually take them right home from the store and start cooking with them immediately. So, how to remove stains from enamel cast iron. I admit to using a weak bleach solution on some pans with white interior that are not cast iron. Well, in fact, I've done that myself, and that has given some good results. But yes, like you said, very weak bleach. In that for a big, huge enamel cast iron pot, I would probably put no more than maybe a couple of tablespoons of bleach at the most, and then fill the entire pot up with water all the way to the rim. It's important to fill it all the way up to the rim if you're doing it with bleach, because any part that is not covered by the water, well, it's not going to be bleached, and you will actually have a color line of the part that's not bleached and the part that is bleached. But that actually does a pretty good job. And then somebody else says, I heard that baking soda works as well. I've tried that and had some good luck with it as well. So it's mostly seasoning. I do all my close quarter infighting with a pair of number fives. Mine is smooth, my chef's. Okay. All right. I've always used the same go-tos. Okay. Let me dig out one more pan, and I showed this pan a couple of weeks ago, but I have a little bit of an announcement to make for next week. Here it is. I had brought this one out before, so if you were here on Cast Iron Live Cast Iron Wednesday a couple of weeks ago, you will see this. But it's time to make an announcement. There we go. Okay, folks. Next week, Cast Iron Wednesday will have to be postponed, probably to Thursday. So it's going to be Cast Iron Thursday again next week. That's because next Wednesday, October 18th, I'm going on a one-day road trip to New Jersey. And that is when I'm going to a book signing. I did tell you folks about this. Namely that Max Miller from Tasting History is going to be appearing at a bookstore in New Jersey. I forget what the actual location is, but it's there on his website and his YouTube channel. Yes, folks who know about Tasting History will know what I'm talking about. And that is going to be next Wednesday evening. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to get a signed copy of Max's cookbook. And I'm also going to give Max a present. And that present is this. A gate marked number 9. Let's do it this way. Number 9 cast iron skillet here. Now, I actually managed to find this about a month ago, and I realized that I think this would be something that would be absolutely perfect to give to Max, because, well, number one, he's got a really cool YouTube channel, but number two, I mean, it's all about the history. Of course, he should be cooking in a vintage cast iron skillet. You see, he's done. I mean, he's done some videos where he has brought out a cast iron pan, and of course, it's a modern day lodge. And there's nothing wrong with a modern day lodge, but it would be so much better if he were to cook in a nice 19th century cast iron skillet. So I'm going to go up there and I'm going to give this to him as a present. By the way, folks, please don't tell him this. Don't leak this to him until he actually receives it. It's kind of like something of a surprise present, and I'm pretty sure he should appreciate it. I will do my best to explain the history of this pan. For folks who don't know, and no, I'm not going to spend 2 hours talking about this. This is a fairly typical generic skillet from the late 1800s. This was from the time when wood burning stoves were taking the country by storm and really changing the way people cook in their kitchens. Namely, that when wood burning stoves were introduced into modern day kitchens, naturally people had to adapt to them, and they had to get new sets of cookware, something that would fit on the flat top of a cooking stove. And that was the reason why many manufacturers included a complementary set of cookware when they sold a wood burning stove. When you got a stove, they would often throw in a whole set of maybe 3 or 4 pieces of cookware. You would almost certainly get a skillet. You'd get a griddle. Maybe you might get a kettle too, one of those bulge kettles. All of that so that you could use them right away on your new wood burning stove. And this, of course, is a very typical example of a generic gate mark skillet from that time. This is actually a little unusual in that it's number 9. Number 9 is an unusual size. Number 8 and 7, on the other hand, are very, very common and easy to find. And actually, I would have to recommend as well. This, by the way, this is not a crack here right here. This actually is just a casting flaw, and I know that because I've looked on the inside, and there's definitely no sign of a crack there. So we're doing good. But anyway, as I said, these things here, again, when I did a recent short video on 19th century cast iron pans like this, you may have seen it. It's one of those 1-minute short videos I did. I got a lot of flack, and people are still criticizing me because I said these were considered to be disposable throwaway pieces. And I meant that. not to people who actually bought them and used them, but to the manufacturers and the retailers, the store managers. This was the type of thing that they simply had a stack of these at the warehouse. And when they put together a package for selling at a store, like of a stove, they would, of course, just simply pull a few pieces off of their pile and just include them with the pan. And they really didn't care too much about this, which is one reason why they don't have a manufacturer's mark and why the gate mark on this is so obvious. These were fairly cheaply made. I mean, they're nice, yes, but I mean, compared to say a Griswold or something, the quality is not quite the same. On the other hand, since they were made of cast iron, of course, that means a lot of them have survived to the present day. And that's why these things are still easy to find even today. But that is what I meant when I said these things were like disposable. It's not like people threw them out, but on the other hand, a lot of people did. You know, I mean, these scrap iron drives of World War One and especially World War Two. One of the first things that a lot of people got rid of were cast iron frying pans like this one, specifically the cheap pans like this one. Not so much the Griswolds and the Wagners, but more like the cheap pans like this. And that's my explanation for these particular kinds of cast iron pans. And so, again, next Wednesday, I am going to New Jersey to the book signing for Tasting History. I hope I can get some video footage. I would love to be able to do that. But that's the reason why Cast Iron Wednesday is going to be postponed next week. And I'm instead going to have to go for Cast Iron Thursday. So letting you folks know in advance. Okay. And that's my story. All right, I've talked enough. Let's see here. If you wrap it, he'll never guess what it is. The way we never knew what it was back when somebody gave us an album back in the day. Well, I considered that, but consider this too. I'm going to be in line with a lot of people. I'm only going to have a few seconds. If I give him a wrapped package, he probably won't open it right there and then. He'll probably take it back to his hotel room or something and unwrap it there. So I would rather give it to him just like that as is, so that he can see immediately what it is. So that's my consideration for that. In the printing business, we sent out for a can of half-tone dots. So proud of my raised fancy handled gate mark scale. Oh, nice, Cynthia Wesley. Yes, those things are wonderful, though, aren't they? I bet he knows beforehand. Well, I certainly hope not. I hope I didn't spill the beans. I mean, granted, my channel, well, I'm very grateful, as I've said enough times, for all the people who were kind enough to show up here, but I'm not so sure that it's big enough that Max Miller would notice it. So that's kind of what I hope as well. Okay, last fat chance on keeping a secret like that. Well, don't tell him, folks. That's all I can say. You will have to make a recipe from the book. Oh, I intend to. And yeah, I certainly hope he shows off the pan. But as long as he uses it, even if he just uses it for private and personal cooking, it would be nice if he does it on the show. But I'm not insisting and demanding that he do that. I hope he does. You can use white vinegar. Get a left-handed screwdriver and take the screw out. Oh yes, do some footage while you're at it. I certainly hope so. Okay, I picked up a number 5 BSNR screw head. Yes, exactly. Undo the screw. Okay, that seems to be caught up on the comments, but I think we're getting close to that time anyway. So, well, let's check on the chicken, shall we? However, I've got to clean up my mess, unfortunately. I've been talking and talking and talking. I've got to put a lot of these things aside here. So very quickly, let me throw this pan back over here, so that there's no chance that it could get tossed around or anything like that. And let's see. This knife, I definitely have to put aside very carefully. You got to be careful with knives. All right, we got this and that and the other thing. Okay, there we go. I think we are good now. So that means I better dig out one of my trivets. Here's one of my favorite trivets. Okay, now that we've done that, let's get this over to the side here. Bring this down. There we go. That's pretty good. Okay, there we are. Now, move the light over. And, oh yeah, better get out my thermometer. That's the thing about cooking with chicken. You should use a probe thermometer. I'm mad. I kind of accidentally pulled this out, but the probe still seems to work. So we will see from there. Okay. Gloves. Where did I put my gloves? Where did I put my gloves? Staring me in the face because they always are. Oh, here they are. My bad for not having things in their place. Mise en place. Okay, finally, thank you for waiting, folks. Here it comes. I don't expect the chicken to be done, but let's see what happens. Ugh, holy cow. Oh boy. Oh man. Whew. Okay, for starters, this thing is so big, I'm gonna have to raise this so that you can have a decent view of it. There we go. And with that, a 1, a 2, a 3, poof, off to a decent start. Ugh. Okay, now that we've done that, let's do two things. Let us carefully turn over the chicken. Do this right. Ooh, you heard that? I heard that. Okay, turn this over. There we go. Breast side up. And this is why I want to put it back in the oven to crisp the skin. But more importantly, let's check the temperature, shall we? And the result? Holy cow. 165 already? Okay, yeah, in fact, it is running just about. Let me lock that up again. I'm putting this into the breast here, and over here it says 178, but over here, 172. Let me dig a little deeper. Oh yeah, when I dig a little deeper into the chicken, temperature drops a little bit, but it's still pretty decent. So right now we're running 151. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is turn the stove up to something like about 450, in fact. And then I'm going to quickly stick this thing back into the oven for maybe about 10 or 15 minutes at the most. All right, so we've turned that up. So actually, this is doing even better than I thought. I like that. Not bad for an hour. Okay, so, all right, here we go again. Ugh, that means we got to lift this up. But then after this come the potatoes, and the potatoes are definitely done by now. Okay, all right, ugh, got it. I have put that chicken into the oven with the lid off. So my hope is in about 15 minutes or so, at least the skin will be a little more dried off. Okay. But now we can, from here, let's move over to the sink. And definitely I need to move some of these things aside. Don't want there to be too much of a mess. I definitely need to move this knife away right now. Okay. All right, there we go. Which means now it's time for part 2. Okay. All right, this is where I have to be careful. Ugh. And there we go. I can feel the steam on my arms. All right. Okay. Thank you for waiting again, folks. All right. I'll reposition the camera. There we go. Much better. And poof. Well, I know for a fact that these are done. I've done these enough times, and they've been boiling for at least 30 minutes. You know, I had to bring it up to a boil and then boil them, which means now we get to quickly throw together some mashed pumpkin potatoes. And here is the easy part. This is where we get to throw in all right, come on. Throw in a stick of butter. Then to that, we also do. We've been boiling this in salted water, so we really don't need to do a lot of salt or maybe even any salt. But on the other hand, we definitely need to put in some pepper. I like pepper. And from here, a little bit of dried basil, not too much. This stuff will overwhelm it if you're not careful. Okay, a little bit of parsley. The parsley, at least, you can be a little more generous with, or I can. I forgot the garlic powder. Let's get that out right now. Hi, Mowgli. Where is the garlic powder? Where is the garlic powder? Cumin, there it is. Garlic powder. This is the fun part of doing it live, as you can see, where you can see how disorganized I am. Okay, garlic powder. And finally, some cream, which is brand new. I get to open this up. It also means I should shake it. And now, in we go. And with that, now it's time to have some fun. This is the part where sometimes, if you have kids, they would want to do this. Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And that is get out the masher. And I better get that glove back because I'm gonna have to hold on to this. But there we go. Look at that. It just goes right in. So definitely we are not going to have a problem with this. It's just a matter of having patience. As you can see, I'm not very patient. But once again, this is what I like to do with pumpkin. I make a pumpkin and potato mash. And the result, I find, as I said, the pumpkin adds something, a little bit of a squash flavor to it. And I find the results to be very satisfying. There we go. I hope I didn't overdo it on the liquid. Boy, no, not to worry. It'll all work out. Just gotta be patient. There we go. Yeah, now that's better. Just gotta keep working at it. Here's the part, of course, where you cue the monster mash, which is why probably maybe next Thursday. Well, no, for next Thursday, after I get back from my road trip, I'm debating whether I should make pumpkin pie or my favorite Halloween dish, which would be the monster mash, namely Cauldron. But yeah, there we go. Now it's starting to get somewhere. Between the cream and the butter, oh yeah, this is definitely working out. In fact, I could turn it around a little bit. All right. Mix it all up. There we go. And like I said, I left the skins on both the pumpkin and the potatoes because that's how I like it. If I had guests who were creeped out or did not find it appealing to eat potato skins and pumpkin skins, I would peel them, to be nice to my guests. But for myself, I have no problem eating this. But nonetheless, there we go. Nice and soft and mashed. Once again, these are pumpkin mashed potatoes, and which again is something I would very much encourage folks to try because, the only thing people ever seem to use pumpkins for are pies and jack-o'-lanterns, which is a shame because pumpkin is a squash, and you can very definitely eat it. There we go. Pumpkin mashed potatoes. All right, now that I've said all that, let me check those comments once again. Oh, good. In fact, the oven just hit 450, so we're doing pretty good. Okay, I prefer mash with the skins, but I'm the only one in my family. What about you guys? How do you prefer them? Oh, I definitely prefer my potatoes smashed. Since it seems like mashed potatoes are when you peel them, smashed potatoes are when you don't peel them. And I definitely prefer them smashed. The grunt made my week. I wasn't lying. That is one big and heavy pot. Okay, go big or go home. Throw in another stick of butter. Well, as you can see, I included cream with it as well, so we definitely went big there. All right, I prefer mash with the skins on. No, we said that part already. Electric hand blender, yes. And I do have one of those, but I see no problem just using an old-fashioned masher because that really didn't take too long, that's for sure. Take some of the roasted garlic to that mash. That's not a bad idea, not at all. We got the skins on baked taters. So anyway, this is one part of our little dish tonight. And I'm definitely not worried at all about how this is going to taste. In fact, I think I'll sample a little bit. As you can see, it's good and creamy. It's basically just that. It's mashed potatoes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's really the way I like it. So I am quite happy with this. And hey, look, there's some skin on this one too. Mm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. This is going to be some good eating, that's for sure. Take a look at the oven. Oh, my. Nice. I like how this is turning out already. In fact, I think this thing may even be just about done at this point already. So, gonna wait about one more minute, and then I think we could show you what the chicken is going to look like. So that means I have to move these mashed potatoes away. And find a place for them. There we go. That'll do. Okay, while we're waiting, let's take a look again at the old tangled frying pan while we're waiting. Cast iron cauliflower is awesome that way too. I left the skins on, Debbie. I usually top a few heads of garlic roast with the chicken and then mash them with the taters. Oh, yeah, definitely do need to mix some of those garlic pieces in it. No question about that. Is it doing the chicken dance? Oh, it certainly is all right. I think heating it up to 450 was exactly just what it needed, because let me move this aside, and I have to move this because again, this is a heavy pan, and I really don't want to trip and drop everything. So let's move this tangled pan out of the way. Brace myself. Ugh. Put on my gloves. Move this over a little bit if I can. There we go. And see what we have. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. And a 1, a 2. Up. Oh, yeah. Check this out, folks. But look at that. We definitely have more of a roast chicken now, because we definitely have some color on the skin. Oh man, in fact, it looks like in fact, part of it even came apart. So, not bad. And especially considering as well, we cooked this in an hour, and it's 9:32. We really cooked this in only about like an hour and 15 minutes at the most. Note that, folks, an hour and 15 minutes for a 6-pound chicken. But we definitely have ourselves some crispy skin on top too. All right. I had better no burnt breasts. This is just browning here on the top. So we are doing good. Even the wing tips, which maybe I should have folded underneath, the wing tips are not burnt. I definitely need to get a picture of this though. So give me a second, please. That way we'll have a more accurate photo for tonight. There we go. I think this is where. Okay, good. And there we are. Haha. Next time I should cook along. All right, I always have a hard time with roasted chicken. Well, as you can see, Louis J, this really wasn't so hard. I mean, remember as well, I'm doing this thing live and trying to talk to all you folks and demonstrate as I'm rushing along to get this done as quickly as I can, so as not to bore all of you folks. So I'm putting some extra effort into it for this reason. But the end result is definitely worth it. I do have my website does have a recipe as well for exactly what we have here, and in fact, I included a link to this on the description of this. Chicken with 42 cloves of garlic, and I am quite liking how this turned out. Let me move 1 or 2 of these things to the side because we've got to get this chicken out of the pot, don't we? All right, that means this bowl here might be a little small. Okay. I'm gonna have to dig myself up a clean bowl. Boy, I always make such a mess here. But again, that's simply because I'm doing this live, remember, which means this is intentionally more difficult than if you folks were to make this in your own, in the safety and privacy of your own kitchen. There we go. Let me gloves, hot pot, big, heavy hot pot, meaning that this cast iron is going to keep the heat in for a long time. So, have to be careful with the gloves, safety first. And now, okay, where's this? And the tongs. And away we go. I just hope this thing doesn't fall apart, which it could very well do. I mean, look at how that, look how the side of it came apart. Hope it's working. There we go. Bam. Haha. There we are. Here again is our roast chicken. And just as important, here's the garlic. And of course, what we need to do is to test this garlic and make sure it is properly roasted. And to do that, let's grab this spoon here, get ourselves out some of the garlic, and do the fork test. There we go. You can just smush the garlic. That means the garlic is done. Oh yeah. This is definitely done. In fact, what I need to do is take an extra step here. I need to get this garlic out of this liquid here, because it seems like there's a lot more liquid in the pan than I expected. Well, that's all right. We'll do this as fast as we can here. And we're running in time. I know that, folks, but we are almost done. After all, the chicken is done and the mashed potatoes are done. But let's very quickly, where is the, this'll do. Slotted spatula. There we go. Because this garlic definitely is not going to go to waste. I can promise you that. Especially since this garlic, if you remember, was braised with the chicken juices and some white wine. The recipe also calls to mix in some cream with this. Not sure if I'm going to do that, largely because I think this garlic looks like it's pretty done as it is. But there's plenty of it here, which just means I'm just going to have to make something that uses all of this garlic. Oh yeah, that's right. You did say mix some of it in with the mashed potatoes. I'll definitely do that. There we go. Almost done. I am going to have to drain the liquid out of this pot before I go to bed tonight, because it is a bare cast iron pot. We don't want to leave the liquid in there too long. But nonetheless, I'd have to say this is it now, because we got it. The cord's too tight. Let's move the laptop over a little bit. There we go, folks. Roast chicken done in a BS&R number 12 cast iron Dutch oven in, what did I say, like an hour and 15 minutes. Yes, put some in the mashed potatoes. Oh, I have no arguments there. None whatsoever. In fact, got to get that pot out as well. It's still hot, but I don't think it'll damage my countertop. So here are the mashed potatoes, which means, like you said, put in a nice big scoop of the garlic. Plop. Yay. All right, this is probably the last thing we do tonight, folks. But there we go. Exactly as you said. The garlic is mixed in with the potatoes. Yum. Oh, man. I'm so looking forward to having all of this. Well, some of this. This is a lot of food. But there we go. And with that, I do believe we have it. Roast chicken, garlic. Oh man, I could spread this onto bread and have the world's best garlic bread. And pumpkin and garlic mashed potatoes. Whew, what a night. But I'll say one last time, we got this done in an hour and 15 minutes, all told. It took about 15 to 20 minutes to prep all the chicken and the potatoes and everything, but this finally went into the oven at about 20 past 8. That was only an hour and 20 minutes ago. So, not bad at all. But yet another reason why cooking in cast iron is so awesome. We got this chicken done one last time in an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes. So, Louis J, if you say you're having trouble with a roast chicken, the best I could say is give it a try, especially if you come across your chicken on sale. I mean, every so often, my local Price Chopper has their chicken on sale at 99 cents a pound. And this roaster chicken was 99 cents a pound. So, yeah, you better believe every time I see that, I've got to grab one because there are so many ways to make a roast chicken, and it really wasn't that hard. I mean, there are some things I'm not so great at. I'm still have yet to produce a world class pizza for one. I can make an okay pizza in cast iron, but it's not world class. On the other hand, I find roast chicken to be very, very easy once you know what you're doing and you have the right tools for the job, which, as you can see, includes a cast iron Dutch oven. Okay. Anyway, thank you as well to Val's Black Cat's Rules, and definitely, well, yes, Louis J. I'm looking forward to seeing a video of it. But there we go. Well, yeah, the improv isn't so much improv. I've been doing these potatoes and pumpkin for several years now because I love it, and I very much encourage you to try it. And yeah, I mean, it's not just all of these cooks, of course, who are plugging their recipes and their cookbooks and all saying that I want you to go out and buy my cookbook. No, I just wanted to give these things a try because they're good, because I enjoy doing this, but also because they're delicious. Man, am I ever looking forward to this. But also because, as I said, it's a lot of fun to do this. I mean, again, all of this talking and rushing around live, it really wears me out and makes a big mess in the kitchen that I've got to spend some time cleaning up. But it's still worth it because, as I said, it's a lot of fun. And you folks here in this live chat are the reason why this is so much fun. I enjoy doing this. This thing has gone on for an hour and 43 minutes because, well, as I said, it's a lot of fun and the time passes quickly. And I better turn off the oven before I forget. And your comments really are really what makes this so much fun here. So thank you very much for everyone. I really hope you've enjoyed this. You know, we had some good results here tonight. As I said, the chicken and the garlic and the mashed potatoes. So it's definitely something I'm going to be making many times in the future. And I really hope you give it a try. And I'm really much appreciate, as I said, everybody being kind enough to come in here into my kitchen tonight and enjoy my attempts at entertaining you. So thank you very much, everybody, for everything. That was to Jimmy Langford, where you're talking about an accomplished chef. Well, that's definitely not me, but I'm doing my best. And thank you as well to Beth Button and Judy W., Chris McGee, Cynthia Wesley. I still can't pronounce that right. MTH Myth Machining. And thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for making your comments. And I hope you all have had some fun because I certainly have. So, and as I said already, though, Cast Iron Wednesday is going to be postponed next week, I'm afraid. So if anybody else wants to do a live video next Wednesday, you're free to do so. But I will be back, and I hope to have a shot at least of what the book signing is like, because I'm looking forward to having some fun there. And I'm definitely looking forward to having more fun when we return next week, probably Thursday. Not sure yet if I'll do a pumpkin pie or cold cannon. But either way, it's getting close to Halloween, so get out your cauldrons, folks, and do some cooking and some cooking magic and witchcraft and or whatever you want to call it, and have fun, because that's really the most important thing. Have fun doing this. I certainly have, and that's why we'll do it all over again next week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, as it says, since supper, and thanks for showing all that garlic. Yeah, the garlic is something else too. But thank you so much, everybody, and we will do this all again next week. And well, I'll just end like I always say. Have a good evening, folks, and we'll see you all next week. Good night.